Let me get your name again. Spell your last name for me.
Gabrielle Alford, Alford.
And Gabrielle, you were a candidate for a precinct committee person?
That's correct.
In which township?
Center Township.
And obviously, you want to file for PC. You were challenged. The board was basically saying, no, the rules are what they are. Just what are your thoughts as a young Democrat trying to get involved and help your party?
It's very disappointing. As the Marion County Young Democrats, we actually held an event before in which we were able to help 27 people file for PC and state delegate. We provided a notary there to make it a one-stop shop, and we were using it as a tool to encourage people to get involved at their lowest level of politics. Unfortunately, the rules are being applied in a way that is not encouraging more people to get involved in the democratic process. The rule, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Rule, under Rule 8C2 exists for a reason. I understand.
And what is that rule for folks at home who may not be familiar with the rules?
Okay. So, Rule C, a party member may only be a candidate for precinct committee person or state delegate if, 1, his or her most recent primary election in Indiana in which the candidate voted was in the Democratic Party primary, or 2, the Democratic Party county chair of the county in which the person resides certifies that the person is a Democrat. So I believe that you're elected to a position for a reason because you are able to use the judgment that you have proven that's the reason that people chose to elect you. So, to say a blanket statement that, it would be unfair to use that rule, and I have lots of respect for Myla. I want to put that on the record. This is just a difference in my opinion on how the rule should be interpreted, as she had a difference as well, challenging me. So you are not doing the due diligence of the role that you've been elected by not using the tools that have been given to you in the rules. And people that are clearly loyal Democrats, that's why that rule exists, to capture people like me and like my secretary who was also challenged and another member of MCYD who was also challenged. That rule exists to capture those people. And I think it's just doing a disservice to getting young people involved if you're not willing to exercise the tools that you've been given.
One of the things I've been writing about a lot lately is sort of this is on the Republican and the Democrat side. It seems like I won't say civil war, that may be a bit too much. Also not Iron Man and Captain America either in the Avengers movie. But it seems that there's sort of this divide, and today's challenges, even though there are the rules, doesn't help bring people together for 2026.
Yeah, and I was an Army officer, and so I understand upholding the standard and upholding the rules. But I think it's going a little further than that because there are tools within the rules to have at least minimize the amount of challenges that happened. The tool is there. And so unlike the Civil War, I wouldn't say it's like a war between like, look the other way, don't follow the rule or do. I think it's saying like, you were chosen to be a leader, to use your discretion, and in doing so with the tools that are available to you.
So what does this do for young Democrats, particularly here in Marion County?
Immediately today, it just means that yet less young people are going to be able to learn and get involved in this political process at this level. It's really exciting, to have your name on the ballot and go through that process, to go out to the polls. It could have been a very educational experience and a process to get like people under the wing of the party at an early age and getting involved. And so it's another barrier, but it's not going to discourage me. This whole experience is still education. Being able to come here, being able to rebut my challenge has made me learn the process so much more, as well as the other young Dems here who had to learn the process. And so it's not all negative. Everything that we do is educational, and it means that next year we're going to be able to come back even more prepared. We're going to be able to hold the event next year and find ways to avoid this early on, or at least not waste people's time if we know that this is what's coming.
So what does this do for you folks in 2026? Do we still go out, work for candidates, campaign for candidates, or do you think this may sort of maybe turn some folks off, particularly the young Democrat
I would hope that it doesn't turn folks off because the stakes are too dire to allow something like this, a bump in the road, to turn people away from what I believe is, not to be overly dramatic, but we're fighting to protect our democracy at this point in this 2026 midterms. And so as a leader, the message that I would be pushing is, don't be discouraged. This is a bump in the road, but look at how much we learned through this whole process that maybe we wouldn't have even learned if we weren't challenged. And just because this happens, this doesn't speak for the entire Democratic Party. There's so many other amazing candidates that we're going to be able to work for and help and get elected in 2026.
So have you spoken to Myla about all this when you found out you were being challenged? What was her reaction?
Not directly. We briefly spoke, and she emphasized that she's upholding the rules. And like I said before, I respect Myla and all that she's done for Marion County as a leader in the county. I just have a difference of opinion in how she could be exercising her role as the county chair. And I say that, with a grain of salt, knowing what it's like to be in the hot seat and being the one making the decisions. And, it's easy to criticize from the outside. But I do understand, I do have a difference of opinion in how she's interpreting the rules and how it's being exercised to young people and all Democrats who are trying to be involved in the process. So
in other words, it's not, to quote an old movie that was long before you were born, The Godfather, it's not personal, it's just business.
Exactly. That's how I operate every day. It's not personal, it's business, and that's how I feel about this. So no hate to Myla. I just have a difference of how she's conducting business.
Final question. So what does this do for young Democrats, particularly here in Marion County, going forward?
I hope it honestly encourages more people to get involved in the process, to say, look, this was messed up, and now we're going to turn this frustration into even more energy to make more change so that this doesn't happen again, so that we can put leaders in place who want to expand the Democratic Party and bring in more unique voices and not push people away.
So once again, Chairman, Young Democrats, just to give folks a little bit of your Democrat resume, so your Democrat credentials.
Gotcha. So I'm very new in the Democratic Party. I got out of the Army in December of 2024 and went to my very first MCYD meeting. That was my first step into anything political ever. Yeah.
That's Marion County Young Democrats.
Yeah, sorry, Marion County Young Democrats. In January, I started just attending the meetings, and then opportunity presented itself for me to run for the president of the organization. And I thought, as my experience as an officer, I could bring some organizational skills to help enhance the organization. So I ran, I won, and that really just put my foot in the door this past year on the trajectory of being involved in Indy politics. From there, I was able to intern with the Indiana Senate Democrats, and I've also become a campaign manager for the House, Indiana House Democrats. So what is your message to young Democrats, folks who may be in your boat, your situation? Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what is your message to your fellow young Democrats who may see this and maybe get sort of frustrated, like, you know what, I'm done with these people?
Yeah, we're dealing with, much bigger existential issues to let, one door close you out of all of the potential opportunities that we can do to make a difference. And I would say, stay strong, use this frustration to fuel into energy to get more involved and to make a difference.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.